What's up, guys? Edrone here. That's right. It is Send It Sunday, guys. Welcome to episode 30, Send It Sunday with special guest ItsBlunty FPV. Real quick, welcome in Johnny DRC, King Keek. Good to see you, man. We got Fly Zone Drone in the house. We got Smags FPV. Welcome as well. We got Vitrafly, Zang, Drip, Drop. Appreciate you, brother. We got Mr. Crowley and his drone, John Goblin, and we got Slopped It as well. We got Robert, aka Snap Garrett. We got Michael's Drones and RCs. Double A. Good to see you, brother. Our special guest, Blunty. And we got 608, 107 Drones, Mark White, Sepher. What's up, guys? Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. Vampire, good to see you as well. We got an awesome show in the house tonight for you. So without further ado, please welcome in the one, the only, ItsBlunty FPV. There he is. It's Blunty FPV. What is up, my friend?
What's up, man? How's it going? How's it going, everybody?
Doing well, man. Doing well. I wanted to do a nice little intro for you. I love the little I guess it was like, I think you said it was what was it? It was like a Cinewhoop or
a
squirt, a slam squirt through the
through the grow room there.
Through the grow room, man. That was fantastic. Love that.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun, for sure.
Absolutely, man. Well, welcome in. Thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. And I have you on the right, which, oh, there we go. I have you on my right. I think that's my right. Yeah. Okay. You good with being on the right?
Yeah.
I always have my special guests on the right, so didn't know if that would mess with you. All right. Hey, welcome in, Maddie's. Good to see you as well. Thank you so much for stopping in, brother. So, first question that I ask all my special guests, Blunty, is when you're flying FPV on the sticks, are you a pincher, thumber, or hybrid?
Hybrid.
All right.
Yeah, leaning towards pinch. But I have pretty big hands, so yeah, I kind of end up pinch hybrid sort of thing going on.
All right. Pinch hybrid. That's what's up.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What's up, Grand? Good to see you as well. Thanks for stopping in. He said, well, he's on our right, but you're okay. All right. So I didn't know if it was like mirrored when you guys see it. Awesome, man. Hey, what's up, Bot Grinder FPV? Welcome in, man. Good to see you as well. So I wanted to ask you about how your move went. You recently moved to another state. How did that go, and how are things currently?
Yeah, it went pretty well, man. For people who don't know, I moved from Denver, Colorado to South Alabama, and yeah, it's that's where I'm from originally, in South Alabama. So I moved back in with my parents, or with my dad. So he's getting older, so I'm helping take care of him and stuff, and that sort of thing. But yeah, it's nice to be out of Denver. It's nice to live in a city, but I did that for a while. And since I do all the stuff online, I figured I would just get somewhere with cheaper cost of living and better rent, and get back to family and stuff. So yeah, it was a good move. I'm happy to have come here for sure.
Well, glad that the move went okay, and you are settling in, and everything's going, smoothly, I guess, so far. And yeah, you're back home. I'm sure it feels good to be back home. And I guess you're going to be doing some fishing, right?
Yes, definitely. I've already done a lot of fishing. Still going to be doing a lot more. So yes, super happy about that. Great fishing around here, saltwater and freshwater. Yeah, I'm super excited about that. We have a pond in the backyard. I do a lot of fishing there as well. We got catfish and carp and brim, so that's a good time.
Oh man, I love a good catfish on the line. That's a good feeling when you get that catfish on there and she
Oh
gives you a
man,
good
it's
bob
good
on the
smack.
pole.
Yeah, 100%. Yes, sir.
I
Good
see
fun.
Henry's back there behind you hanging out.
Yeah, yeah, he is.
How's he doing with the move?
He's doing good. He did better than I expected, to be honest. I
That's
drove
good.
when I came, so it was just it was a long trip. He basically sat in the back and was scared the whole time, but he made it. So, for anybody who doesn't know, Henry's a rescue dog. I rescued him about 5 years ago. He was 5 years old when I got him, so a lot of his traits are kind of grown into him, But we get by. We do the best we can. So, yeah, he's a good boy.
We actually rescued a dog as well, and he's got his own little quirks. But man, it's just an awesome thing when you can take them out of a bad environment and give them the love that they so much deserve, fans. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, he was about to be put down, so I wanted to save him. So yeah, he's a good boy, and he deserves a good life. So that's what we can give him. And luckily, he needs somebody who can hang out with him at home and who's going to be around a lot and who takes care of him a lot. So that's kind of what I can provide for him since I don't have to go to work all the time. So
That's great, man. Well, that's fantastic. I'm glad he settled in because sometimes that can be rough on the animals. You're going from a different environment, different
yeah,
smells, different layouts. Sometimes it can take quite a bit of getting used to, but seems like he's adapting very well. So that's great.
yeah, definitely is.
Man, we got to get together and do some catfishing. I hear you, man. You like to go. I love catfishing, man. Have you ever tried using like raw hot dogs?
No, I'm typically using like gizzard shad or something like that. Kind of just depends. So or
I
worms.
know.
I mean,
When I first
but
heard that, I was like, "No way!" Like, I don't believe that. But no, it really does work. Like, if you use raw hot dog on a hook, man, those catfish just go nuts.
I'll have to try that out. I know
Yeah,
sometimes it could be regional too. I've always heard that. So
could be. Yeah, so that
yeah,
might be like an East Coast thing.
yeah. Can't
Hey,
flex
welcome
this.
in,
You ever go?
Steve-O.
You ever go noodling? Definitely never go noodling. I'm one of my fears is dark water and not knowing what's under the water. So the last thing I want to do is shove my hand into a big hole and try to get a fish.
Oh yeah, definitely. I don't like swimming or going into water where I can't see the bottom either. That's for sure. Hey, welcome in, Shaky Thumb FPV. Good to see you as well. Make sure I didn't miss anybody.
Bachgrinder says, "Fucking ocean fish, man! You got to get out there and fish for some redfish, some flounder. There's some great ocean fish. You don't even have to get out there very far. So some bay fish.
You know, I used to be able to go out in the bay, with not much problem, but here
Yeah,
recently I found myself more and more getting like motion sickness,
right.
especially if it's real choppy. Oh man, I got sick one day. It was so bad. I think getting like that that ocean sickness can be like one of the worst ways to get sick.
Definitely.
And it kind of scared me from going out there. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to stick to the inlets and the fresh
Yeah.
water.
If you go too hard, it can definitely like ruin your experience on a boat. Like I
Hmm.
it feels very similar to VR for me. Like I don't know if you've done any VR, but VR is almost the same thing where you get super motion sick, and then if you do
Oh,
it too much, you just like suddenly get turned off, and you're like, I don't ever want to do this again because it's a horrible experience. You just
yeah.
got to go slow and easy, and then
I
take
have to
medicine.
go out there when it's like a sheet of glass and they're like
Yeah,
forecasting like very little winds and stuff.
yeah.
Hey, what's up, Rotorbots? Good to see you as well. He said he'll do it. Bot grinder will do it from the pier. Yeah, sometimes I mean, yeah, getting out there on the boat, man, it's definitely it's got a lot more risk involved. That's for sure. We'll make sure you got a
Definitely,
good captain.
definitely. Yeah, learn the laws. Don't get drunk when you boat. I mean, you can get it done pretty well. It's a good time, man. I love going out, especially in the Gulf. It's a good time. Uh,
Yeah.
it's a
Now,
little
is
ways
this
out
this
there.
statement true? Because I've heard this from several people, and I want to just see if you've heard anything similar, or if you think this is just complete garbage or nonsense. But I've heard that like when you're out in the ocean, when you drink one beer, it's actually the equivalent of drinking like two.
I mean, I could see why people say that, but I don't know that that's true. I mean, if you're really out there and you don't have any land, everything kind of gets a little weird. But Yeah, I don't know. I would say probably not true, but I could see why people would say that for sure.
Yeah, same. So I tend to definitely not drink too much out there, especially knowing
Yeah,
that I got the whole motion sickness thing going on.
yeah, definitely.
Awesome, man. Well, I want to change it back over to FPV. I
Sure.
want to talk about man, you've been such a awesome community member in the hobby. How did all this get started for you? How did you get first started with FPV, Blunty?
So my first drone was, hold on, let me get a year. It's got to be 2019. I think that's correct. So I'm not super old at FPV. I think it was 2019. Rotor Riot did a video with RC Test Flight where they flew an Alta X and they flew through the gates under the Alta X that they hung under the gate. That was the first video I ever saw of FPV, and that's what got me into FPV.
Okay.
Before that, I had a DJI drone, like a Mavic. But as soon as I saw that video, I was like, "Oh man, I need to dive into this." And I just went, like I do with many other things. I just dove in head first and learned as much as I could as quickly as possible. So
It really is one of those hobbies where it's either going to be like extremely intimidating to where you're just going to be like, oh no, this isn't for me. Or you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I want to learn everything I can about this. This is amazing.
right,
I feel
yeah,
like it's like, yeah, definitely that way.
it's a lot of fun, man. I just yeah, there's so much room. There's so much yeah, there's so much room to learn. There's so many things to learn, and that's what, yeah, I love doing that. For anybody who doesn't know, my past experience mainly is running a cannabis grow facility, and I did that for many years. But doing that, I kind of did the same thing. I started as a trimmer, and then basically learned every job in the entire building. Like I always had computer background, so I jumped on and tried to do IT, and they let me do IT, and then I learned HVAC on the job because HVAC was all run by computers and stuff, and my goal is just to learn as much as possible about everything, until I get bored. So
And that's what I really love about FPV. Like you can just scratch the surface, or I mean, you can just go in so deep and just go, beyond so the normal realm of like learning things. I mean,
yeah,
I've seen you talk about some really deep things like in FPV, like deep into like the software and the coding and how things work on that level. And it's just like, man, it's like I just feel like it's one of those hobbies where you'll just truly never just know everything. You're always going to learn something new. Something's always going to change. It's always going to keep you on your toes.
yeah, especially if you're trying to go really deep. I mean, I think it's almost impossible. I think I really rely on a lot of people to, share information with me at a deep level. Like if I have questions about any flight, I can contact Kevin Plazier and then dive in. And I can try to use my technical background to parse what he's saying into a way that people can understand on the news or whatever. Like that's sort of where, yeah, I try to play it, but I don't think it's possible for everybody to know everything because it's just so deep. Betaflight goes so hard, and like multi-Wii's been around forever, and it's all built off the back of all that stuff. Multi-Wii and base flight, and there's just so many layers and so many different people contributing. Even all the developers. Like in Betaflight currently, there's I believe 3 people left over who even know how the like base drivers in Betaflight work, like the deep driver stuff. There's only 3 people who can even work inside of that stuff anymore left over. So like, you know, um, there's just a lot of splintered knowledge that comes together to create this awesome hobby.
Absolutely. I actually had Lamone on the show,
Oh,
and he was talking about like how what he contributed. He just feels like it's so minute compared to everything else that's gone into it. And I'm like, nah, man. Like I think what you put in is awesome. Like I think
yeah,
the motor direction and the motor remapping tool and the motor wizard. I think it's amazing. And he's just
I
like,
think
oh, that's just like a very small thing. He's like, there's so much more. And I'm like, it's because of awesome people like you and people that are just so committed to the Betaflight project that these amazing things just keep continuing to just get better and better with the software and make it just much more enjoyable experience for new people in the hobby and even people that have been in the hobby for years. It's just
yeah.
it's just
I mean, this is
amazing.
this is all open source. I mean, the reason you get a better Betaflight 4.4 than 4.3 is because people cared and people wanted to work on it and people wanted to make those differences and changes and work together for a long time to make those things happen. So, yeah, that stuff's really awesome, man. It's cool to see. I think also Limon did presets, right? Am I wrong about that?
I think you're right. I think he did do the presets as well.
Yeah, I mean that's huge. I feel like that was a big barrier for people, you know, is try to get like that. That's so huge. I'd love to see that even expanded to like when people come into Betaflight, I'd love for there to eventually be some sort of like front end for new people. Like here's the things you need to do to get a drone working instead of having to watch a video. Like that'd be cool to get there eventually. But I mean the amount of room you can go look and you know, like even 4.1 and look to now, and it's just so crazy how much improvement there's been. So yeah,
it really is, and it's moving so fast. I feel like there was a little bit of a pause going from 4.2 to 4.3.
It's because
that seemed like that was the longest pause, but even then, I mean, it was a huge difference in the releases. So I understand the gap.
Yeah, if you were running nightlies, you know, there were just tons of changes that whole time. You know, everybody was just doing tons of work and trying to get things worked out, and they kept finding bugs, and they would merge more stuff in, and yeah, it just became a whole big pile, you know. But 4.3 was amazing and had tons of great stuff. So yeah,
absolutely
it's awesome to see.
Welcome in, Alvy. Good to see you, brother. Also, real quick, we had a couple other people hop in. We had MFR FPV stop in. Good to see you. And I think there was one more. Christopher Taylor, good to see you as well. Love the hobby. Absolutely. Good to see you, Starkey FPV. All right. Thanks for coming in, guys. Really appreciate that. So let's talk about your preferred setup, Blunty. Like, what do you prefer to? What's got your heart in FPV? What is something that you love to fly, and what's your setup looking like?
Yeah, I mean, there's two main things I fly, which are whoops. So 65 millimeter, 75 millimeter. I just think those are a lot of fun to fly. They're easy to get around, and flying through gates and doing times has always been addictive to me. It's always a lot of fun. So even if I'm not racing, I always love to do that. But you know, otherwise it's going to be 5-inch, and I think I'm counter to most people in the hobby at this point. I don't understand making a quad lighter. I don't enjoy it. Like I don't use the top of the throttle even on the quads I build, really, because I just like, I'm not insanely punching out to go crazy. I like flowy style stuff. So I build really heavy quads. You know, like I like running 4S 6S motor KV on 4S batteries, you know, like super underpowered, you know, 600-700 grams with the battery, and just like flying around that. Because to me, like flying around that creates automatic flow. You know, I'm like working, it's almost like playing a video game. Like I'm working around, like if I don't pull out fast enough, I'm going to hit the ground, you know? And to me, that like adds so much more to me than just like zipping around the park. It gives me a goal, you know what I mean? It gives me like a way I want to fly. So
I love a heavy quad as well. Matter of fact, my current setup, I'm running very close to like 800 grams, and I really love that weight. It just feels so much. You just feel the momentum when you go to throw it, and it just carries so well.
Yeah.
And I really do like the feeling of a heavier quad. Not to mention, when you get a heavier quad, normally, depending on the frame and everything, you get a little bit more durability as well.
Definitely. Yeah, it feels like it feels like yeah, you're sort of taming this thing that like wants to get away from you, or doesn't want to like necessarily respond in time. It's sort of the opposite of something that's too fast or too crazy. It's sort of like the opposite, and you've got to dial it in and get it drilled in. But it feels so good to hit those, you know, to hit those loops and stuff, you know. So and to hit those just to hit a tree gap and like to pull out of it at the right time and get that nice scene and pull up into, I don't know. I love that stuff. That's what I fly for sure, versus just zipping around and doing crazy stuff. So
yeah, I love to do like the big punch outs, like the they call them the Superman punch outs, where you just pew and just launch it as far as you can and just hit some really nice gaps from far away. That's the part that I love. I love the raw power. So I got to ask you, man, running the 6S motors on 4S, what kind of flight times are you getting with that?
It depends on I got a lot of old batteries, but anywhere from like 3 to 5 minutes. I mean, it really depends on how
Okay.
mean I am, on it, and like
Yeah, I
how much
wasn't sure if
how hard
like
I'm flying.
going down on the KV with the 4S, if that would give you like substantially a little bit more flight time, maybe like an extra
Not,
minute or two.
yeah, not too much extra. I think because the motors have to do so much more work to push the quad in general. I think you're using that energy somewhere, is what it feels like. You know what I mean? Like I'm even
Gotcha.
flying like I'm even flying S3s. So we're talking about like even low pitch on that setup.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
yeah,
I used to love the S3s
yeah, it's just a
on
smooth. I want that
4S.
throttle resolution, man. I'm looking for a crazy throttle resolution. Like so much. Good. Yeah,
They
it's a
are
lot of fun.
a really awesome prop
Yeah.
to pair with the 4S. Those S3s are. They really are nice.
A lot of people think they're too low pitch, but like I said, I'm a big fan of that lower thrust, that kind of thing. So, but
Okay.
everybody has their own deal,
That's the beauty of FPV, man, that we have so many different options for so many different types of pilots with different, preferences, different needs, different wants. And that's what I love about it. There's just so many more options now than there used to be. Yeah, PB&Js. All right, on 6S. I actually have been drawn to the gem fans. I really like the Hurricane, the Min Ching Kim 51466. I love those props on 6S. It's super overpowered, but that's what I like. I like just to be able to just hit that throttle for just a second and the quad just soars. That's what I like. Of course, I get about 3 to 4.5 minute flight times because of that. But hey, you gotta do what you like, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And oh, go ahead.
I got to take this opportunity to, as I like to point out, complain about gem fans naming system. The only problem I have with gem fan is the naming, because 51466 prop. Every other company, they name their props based on the pitch, right? So like it's the size and the pitch and the blades. But a gem fan 51466 is actually a 5363. So like the pitch is 3.6. It's like
it really is confusing.
Yeah, so confusing.
It really is.
I
do like the 5.1 though. I do like the 5.1 inch prop.
Yeah.
A little bit longer, not much longer, but a little bit longer than your traditional 5-inch prop. But yeah, the naming system, I totally agree. It's too confusing.
Alvy mentions the Radberries are between the S3 and the PB&J. I think they're like an S3.5, right? Or are they P3.5? I can't remember what their names are. But I think they're like between the S3 and the S4, right? The lemon limes and the
so you have the S4s, the lemon limes, then you got the S5s. So aren't the Radberries between the S4 and the S5, or am I wrong?
They're a 3.5. I just don't remember if they call them P3.5. Yeah, they're P3.5. Okay, yeah. So they are like they're sort of like a step up from the P3s.
Okay, from the P3s,
right?
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So would they be like between the S4 and the S5 then for pitch?
They're between the S3 and the S4 for pitch, but they have the diameter, I think, of the Ps, which are the 5.1s.
Okay, nice.
Oh, they have the candy canes too. That's right.
Yeah, I know. They've got so many different variants now. It is nice, all the different options.
Yeah.
Welcome in, Saggy Balls FPV. Love that name, right? That's something that definitely sticks out to you. All right. Make sure I didn't miss anybody. Yeah. So, another thing I wanted to tell you about that I really like about the micros as well, even though that's not like my main heart for FPV. One of the biggest advantages I see of micros is if you're flying them indoors, guess what? You don't got to worry about the FAA. You're indoors.
Right. Definitely.
Which that's a huge plus.
Also, most are under 250 for sure. So you're, there's not as much requirement, but
for recreation, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. I meant to ask you, do you have your 107 Blunty?
I do. Yes.
Nice. I figured you did, but I wanted to just confirm that.
Yeah, I don't use it much, but I do have it. So.
Nice. Welcome in, Glenn Edwards. Good to see you. And we got Joseph Mengele. Hope I didn't butcher your name too bad. Welcome in. Awesome, man. Well, we're right around 8:30. What do you say we go ahead and get into the first giveaway? Guys,
Sure.
up for a giveaway tonight?
Let's do it.
All right. So this giveaway is going to be for my U.S. viewers, and then don't go away if you're international, because I have an international giveaway I'm going to do towards the end of the stream. So what I would like to give away for my U.S. viewers tonight is a Just Send It swag shirt right here with the busted prop. Yes, this is and this comes in a wide variety of colors and sizes as well. So the winner of this, whoever wins this, I will actually have this sent to you if you're in the U.S. So Just Send It swag shirt. Let me change my banner here. All right. So if you guys are interested in winning this, get ready. I'm going to pop the hashtag up here in just a moment. Hopefully my video can hang in here for a second. Am I still good?
Yeah.
Sometimes when I change windows, weird things happen. So, all right. Getting this pulled up in the background here. And I'm going to get the hashtag ready. All right, guys. Go ahead. Let me get my screen share here. All right. Going to have this shared up here in just a minute. Here comes the hashtag, guys. Hashtag Blunty if you're in the U.S. for a chance to win the Send It t-shirt. And that will come in a wide variety of colors and sizes. Oh, you don't hashtag, Rob? Come on, man. All the cool kids are doing it. Right? All right. Hashtag Blunty. I can see them coming in. Entries are coming in. All right. Keep them coming, guys. Hashtag Blunty. And then we will draw the winner in just a moment.
There we go. Rob got a hashtag in there.
There you go. Say all the cool kids are doing it, all right? Get them in there. That's right. Get them in there. He said, do you pound sign? Yeah, that's another way you could say it. Pound sign, yes. Hey, welcome in, Ursula. Happy you're here as well. All right, guys, going to give a couple more seconds here, and then we're going to go ahead and close it out. Hashtag Blunty if you're in the U.S. International giveaway will be a little bit later. So if you're in the U.S., go ahead and type in hashtag Blunty for your chance to win. Official rules down in the video description. And while you're down there, make sure you check out ItsBlunty's channel. I've got the link to his channel down in the video description. Make sure you check him out. And also check out Blunty's website as well. It's blunty.com.
Yeah.
All right. All right. I think we're ready. Got 21 entries. Good luck, everybody. Hey, Night Train. Congratulations, man. You have won the Send It shirt.
Nice.
All right. Got to get Carlton up on his feet. Oh, yeah. Congratulations, brother. Happy for you. Thank you, everybody, for all the entries. And then all you need to do... Let me get my thing switched over here. I made a special banner just for you, Blunty, and I put that up there. All you got to do is send me an email at emarvel09@gmail.com with your shipping information, Night Train. And then I will have that ordered and shipped out to you this week, my friend. Congratulations. All right. There we are.
Nice.
Sweet. I forgot to put your banner up earlier, man. I'm sorry. I'm slipping tonight. It's been a while
Well,
since I've gone live. It's been a little while. I feel a little rusty.
yeah.
This is a good warm up for us. This is a good warm up for us because you've had what 2 weeks off of doing the news with JB.
Yeah, 2 weeks. That's correct. Yep.
So if you guys didn't know, Blunty also, and the many other awesome things he does in the community, he also does the co-host the FPV news on Joshua Barwell's channel. So if you wanted to talk real quick about how that kind of got started or how that came to be about.
Yeah. So somebody asked earlier also about the grow thing. So I'll just summarize that real quick. So I
Oh
did
yeah,
the grow
yeah.
job for a long time. And then I kind of hit my cap. And I'm not really interested in like working for the rest of my life as a career, like for a real job, So I kind of capped that off and decided to bail on that. So I quit. I ended up quitting. I left like with a month notice or something, and left that company. Um, and then sort of wanted to figure out what I was going to do. So in the meantime, I like the drone stuff. So I made a few videos on my channel for just general troubleshooting stuff. It's probably the first couple videos you see on there. If they're still there, I don't remember. But super simple videos, just similar to JB style. Get in front of a camera, quickly tell you what I think is wrong or what's wrong, how to fix something, put up the graphics for how to fix it, explain it, and sign off sort of thing. So I did 3 of those, I think. And then I got a private message from Joshua Bardwell. I was already kind of in his Discord hanging out, answering questions sometimes and stuff. And yeah, he DM'd me and said, hey, you seem like you're really on your stuff. You kind of do the similar thing to I do. You're on camera. I think you'd work out well. Why don't we try doing a roundup? So I started with the new product roundups, which I also do every month with Josh. And we did those, I think, for like 2 or 3 months. And then Joshua decided he wanted to split the news off of his Q&As because he kind of talked about the news then. And we sort of made a mutual decision to start the news. So we started doing the news. And he basically I do, all the summaries for the news and all the research and everything. And then he kind of comes as an outside, like a talking head that doesn't necessarily know all the information. I can kind of bounce off of him, and he can ask questions because he genuinely doesn't know, but he's technical enough to understand what I'm saying and stuff. So I feel like the news works really well.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
You guys have a very good on-screen dynamic together. You guys work really well together, so that's really exciting. I'm so fortunate, and I think a lot of people would agree that we're so happy that you are a part of that. Because it seems like it's a lot of work, and you are eager and enjoy doing that work, doing the research, and then kind of like getting that out to the public in a easier way to understand than some of the stuff may have been when you received it. So I think that's awesome, man. So very well done.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that's my general goal with it, is just to find the important information, summarize it in a way people can get, and then so sometimes I'll get messages from developers, and then I can answer those questions. I could talk to them. Basically, they can relay me information that might otherwise be difficult to figure out or whatever, parse it out, kind of go back and forth with them, and then share that news on the news in a more consumable way, So
I think that's great. And I think it's awesome that there's people like yourself, Joshua, and myself as well, and many other creators. Just so many to even list. I'd be here all night. But there's so many awesome people in the community that want to use this platform to be able to help others, to make this hobby easier, to make it simpler to understand, to be able to give you a better experience, to keep people in the hobby, and also bring in some new people who just, let's be honest. I mean, this hobby can be a bit overwhelming when you're coming in. I mean, there's so much you have to learn, so many different skills that you need to acquire. So it's awesome.
I can often feel, I've been working with a lot of new people. I always have especially recently, you mentioned my website. I have a $50 an hour service that you can sign up for, where you can kind of get on a video with me. I can remote desktop to you. Basically, I can work with you to show you how to do stuff or do stuff for you directly on your computer, and directly over video and voice chat, and answer questions easily. But I notice a lot from those conversations that I tend to get the new people who end up getting unlucky. We have, everybody in this hobby knows, we have DOA hardware. Sometimes you have incompatibilities. You have stuff that's just tough to set up. Sometimes somebody makes a board and the board doesn't work right, and maybe the target's wrong, or maybe they map something wrong, or maybe there's not the right pads you expect. There's like whatever weird stuff's going to come up, right? Like, for instance, one of the things I run into all the time that people get so mad about as a new person is, if you've got Express LRS on some UARTs, it will lock itself into bootloader. It won't fire up the receiver because of a bug with the way the data is transmitting from that UART. So you have to switch UARTs and try to find a different UART. And they're like, well, I only have 2 UARTs. I can't find one that doesn't do this, And that's just like a weird thing. You'd never know. And there's no way to know that until you order and get into it and try to figure it out. Or like if you've got a receiver or a GPS on UART 1 or 3 and you can't flash your flight controller and you don't know why, it's probably because something's talking on that UART, and that's a quirk of the STM processors, and now you can't flash and you have no clue why, and you're like looking up reboot to bootloader over and over again trying to figure it out, and like stuff like that. I definitely sympathize with the amount of barriers there can be for people getting in this hobby.
And some things you just have to go through the trial and error of people actually going through the hiccups and the headaches that you're describing right now. Some things you just have to go through and be like, oh man, this was a huge pain, but okay, I'm glad I found out the problem. Let me go ahead and share that. That way it's documented. It's out here for people to research. Like, I had a problem with a bind and fly that I had purchased. I had a weird thing where I go to set up the switches and stuff on Betaflight, and every time I went to go set it up, it would actually wipe the whole config. I'm like, what the heck am I doing wrong? Like, what is wrong with this thing? And it ended up being some kind of a bug that it had in that particular firmware. So I ended up changing the firmware and doing a whole bunch of changes, and it was a big nightmare. But I documented all that, and I put that in the video to hopefully, if somebody else run into that problem, they would be able to say, oh, okay, yeah, I'm having this problem as well. So if I do these steps, maybe, I'll be able to get through it like he did.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, my ultimate rule for a lot of people is backup and reflash. Like, because it's so often you can fix stuff by reflashing, and it's just some weird bug that happened with the config. Like, I don't know exactly what happens, if like the flash is volatile enough that something gets messed up when they flash, or if it's just because they don't necessarily, like, it doesn't necessarily reread the flash to make sure everything flashed correctly. I don't know. I can't tell you why. I can just tell you that I know there's so many cases where you'll flash and the voltage won't work. And then you'll flash again, the same exact flash, and now the voltage will work. Like, that was a bug, I think in 4.2 or 4.3. So like, stuff like that. You kind of just get used to dealing. It's sort of like, reminds me of have you turned it off and on again, but with flash.
Right. Exactly. And it ends up being one of those things where it's like you can't explain why it's happening, but by the end of it, you can explain, okay, well, this is how you fix it. I don't know why it's happening, but
right. I could give you the steps to fix it for sure.
Exactly, which in the end is definitely more important. But I know yourself as well as others, some people, they want to know why, and they will dang sure dig as deep as they can to figure out why is this happening.
Yeah, for a lot of the issues, I definitely do that for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, welcome in, Props Off. Good to see you, man. I actually got to meet him in person at International Open last year down in Muncie, Indiana. Man, that was a good time, man. That was a really good time. Had an awesome time. Have you been to the International Open, Blunty?
I have not. I don't think I've ever been to like a big FPV event other than like a couple of big whoop races.
Man, I know you would love it. Jesse Perkins was there as well. I got to meet Mr. Tiny Whoop himself. And they had the little Tiny Whoop tent set up with the little holographic tunnels and stuff man, it was so much fun. I know you would just absolutely love it out there.
Yeah, Jesse's a great guy. I love hanging out with Jesse. I've done that a few times because he's based out of Colorado, so I was there.
Nice.
And Also, Zotek FPV. I don't know if you've met him, but he runs Weebleed FPV, and
Oh,
Zotek he's a great guy. I love hanging out with him too. He's at a lot of those events too, especially the Whooplands. So
and if
yeah,
you ever go, definitely link up with Double A. This guy knows how to give you the best possible international open experience I've ever experienced, man. Appreciate you, Double A. You are the man. He knew where everything was. He knew the ins and outs of, where you go and the timing of everything. He just showed me such a great time when I went. I really appreciate that, Aaron. Thank you so much.
nice.
Yeah, he
Double
said it's
A.
actually closer to you this year. So yeah, if you have a chance and your schedules allows it, yeah, maybe check it out.
Yeah, I might.
Sure.
It's on the list. I might go as an FPV FC person.
Nice.
Like to help do that stuff. But
And that's actually a perfect transition because I wanted to talk to you about that as well.
yeah,
Yeah, I was so happy. I was so excited when the news dropped that you were officially the newest member of the FPV Freedom Coalition, man. This is a huge deal in my eyes because not that the people there are not amazing. Dave Messina, he is a great advocate for FPV, but you're only going to add to that because now you are another voice in the room to be able to explain what we do and why certain things just don't make sense the way they're written. And I'm just so happy that we have, yourself, Dave, and the others that are able to contribute, real life FPV, what's really going on out here, what we're really doing,
right.
And hopefully be able to work together to make this, work with the FAA. Cause I feel like right now there's such a huge gap between what we're doing and what they're trying to do. And I just feel like they just don't understand the huge difference that, the airspace is such a huge place and we're such a small part of that in the elevation scheme of things with FPV. I look up at the sky every day and I'm like, man, there's such a huge difference. Like, can't we compromise? Can't there just be something to where we can have that low altitude, clearance, authorization to be able to just kind of do our thing without being intrusive of any kind of delivery drones or whatever, you want to have up there and your 400 feet and all that, that's fine. You want to do that. But we just want to be down here, man. Like we're way down here.
So, before I get into anything else, I just like a quick teaser real quick. I would encourage you guys to check out the Flight FTCA, the Flight Test Association. Their channel will be putting out a video tomorrow. That's as much as I can say, but I promise it will be of great interest to everyone who goes and watches it. We have big news coming that I think hopefully will be pushed in the right direction as far as at least our initiatives and what we're moving forward towards. I can't really talk about it yet. We're announcing tomorrow. I can talk about other stuff, but just so you know, like there is a big thing we're going to try to do, and we can announce that tomorrow, and then we'll talk about that at some point in the future. That video and other things. But just in general, I'll say that we've been working really hard to work with the FAA and make them understand things. The one thing you have to remember is that most of the FAA are just government employees that are tasked with certain tasks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And often those tasks are not malleable, right? They're interpreting rules. And so there is some interpreting that can happen. But in a lot of cases, it's pretty hard set rules, and it's just up to them to how to like enforce them, and if they're going to enforce them and those kind of things. And it is sort of up to the FAA to do that and to at least start that enforcement. So when people get angry because they don't understand us, I would tell you that I think they do understand us. The rules don't understand us, unfortunately. The rules that were placed in the congressional mandate and things like that. Like in so many words, essentially what happened is the FAA Reauthorization Act in 2018 reinstated the idea that they had to do remote ID, and the only goal listed essentially is get as many drones as possible to have remote ID. Like that's there's no mention of safety. There's no mention of anything like that. It's just about the max amount of drones to have remote ID. So I think that's why we're seeing a lot of the issues we're seeing, is because that's all they care about. You know, we talked before. There's a video we put out about the conversation we had through the FAA a few weeks ago, and essentially they told us that, you know, they only want 4,000 FRIAs, so FRIAs aren't really going to be an option for most of us. It's just going to be AMA fields pretty much. We're going to see, you know, probably we're going to start seeing enforcement from LEAP agents. So the FAA has this group of people called LEAP. It's the Law Enforcement Assistance Program, and there are 25 people in LEAP. So their goal is to reach out to local police officers, state police officers, and get them informed about what the rules are and try to have them help enforce these rules, especially for remote ID. That's like a new initiative they're pushing. I don't know. It's just it's discouraging because they're definitely not. I don't know. The best case scenario is we don't have much movement and they don't enforce the bad rules. You know what I mean? It's unfortunately that seems to be the case. So something we are doing, and part of the announcement tomorrow will be we're going to be pushing really hard for the new FAA Reauthorization Act, which is coming for 2023. Will be dealt with later this year, and that will be where Congress tells the FAA what they have to do. Right? So the FAA does what they do. They have rules. They're mandated by Congress. So that means that if we can convince Congress X, Y, and Z, and Congress puts that in the document, then that becomes binding, and the FAA has a legal obligation to make those things happen, right?
Right.
So in those respects, you know, one of the things we're definitely going to push for is BVLOS, right? We've already had a BVLOS work group and all those kind of things. Like, we want to make beyond visual line of sight approved, legal, and usable. And the other thing we want to do, in addition to BVLOS, is a shielded operations, where, like you talked about, where if you're down low enough, it shouldn't matter, right? Even
right.
I'm not even talking about 400 feet. I'm talking about if you're like tree line, no planes are getting down there. That's not really navigable airspace. We shouldn't be considering that as a place where a drone can't be. You shouldn't need remote ID to fly there, because nothing else is going to be there.
Yeah.
None of that matters, right? So that is something we're definitely pushing for. And part of our goal will be to convince, to talk to Congress about that. So the reason I say I'd like you guys to go check out the Flight Test, it's a Flight Test Community Association channel, I believe is where it will show up. But it might also be on Flight Test directly. I'm not 100% sure. But
absolutely,
we're gonna be asking for people to send messages to their congressional representatives. Starting tomorrow and in the next week, so that we can get a big push for them to understand some of the changes we'd like to happen. So we'd love to, I'll be pushing that hard on the news and letting everybody know everywhere I can, that we want these changes to happen. So I think that's our real hope right now. We're still working with the FAA to make changes and do the best we can to work within the rules, but the rules are set. The FAA seems to be set on enforcing them as they're written. And, the best we can do is essentially attempt to work around those through Congress,
Well, I myself, as well as I'm sure everybody else in here, Blunty, are extremely, happy and fortunate. And we're just so happy and that you are a part of this. And the FPV Freedom Coalition is our voice. But they can't do it alone, guys. That's the thing. Like, they can't do it alone, and they need our help. So keep your eye out on Blunty's channel, as well as the flight test community, as well as the news, because it's time for us to stand up, and it's time for a call to action. It's time for us all to be able to come together, work together to make this work. Because right now it's just not working. It's just not working. People are they would rather I'm just not going to do it. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. And, we want to be able to work together, but something's got to give. So
I also want to point out that a lot of people thought that when the NPRM happened, for anybody who was around for that, which was the remote ID NPRM, that's where they do the notice of proposed rulemaking. They put out the document and then everybody has a chance to comment. And we asked for a lot of comments on that, and we got a lot of comments on that. And I know people don't believe this. People have told me they don't believe this, but I can tell you from the backside that those comments were extremely important to not having network remote ID currently. So the original rules were that you would be on the internet with every drone no matter what, and that was the remote ID. You had to have every drone connected to the internet. If you were out in the middle of nowhere and you didn't have internet, you could not fly. That was the original rule. And so just remember that we got that changed. Like, that was us. And we may eventually get network remote ID again. That could happen depending on how everything ends up going. But we put that off for 5-10 years because of the comments and the push that people gave to send in their comments, you know.
And I, for one, put my comment in, and let me tell you guys, it was a very simple process. It probably took me maybe 10 minutes. Yeah. Maybe 10 minutes to access the comment section, to leave my comment, to save it. It took about 10 minutes. So if we can all work together, like you said, and when the time comes, it's time to, you know, send an email or send a letter to our local, you know, politicians, congressmen, what have you. Now is the time for affirmative action, and we need to do this for our hobby to be able to enjoy it and to be able to, you know, be able to enjoy it without having all these restrictions to the point of it just makes it to where a lot of people are just going to walk away, or they're just not even going to want to get in the hobby because, like, man, I got to take a trust test. I got to buy this module. You know, if I want to do it for money, I got to get my 107, and it's just on and on and on. All these things just keep adding on, and it's just like people are just going to be like, it's not worth it. You know, like I would hate to see that happen.
I mean, that's been one of my big driving arguments when we have these conversations with the FAA. Is, you know, there's such a small percentage of people who are actually following the rules and registered based on the rules. Like, so do you want to make more rules, or do you want to make it so that more people are complying and everybody is doing the right thing? You know, and like I said, unfortunately, the FAA is typically hamstrung by what's in the rule book already and what they were mandated. And it's just, unfortunately, we kind of have to work around that and the best we can. So.
Yeah. Well, without you, I mean, I wouldn't even want to see what it would be like right now without the FPV Freedom Coalition. So thank you so much for all you do. You know, thank you to Dave Messina, to everybody that's a part of the FPV Freedom Coalition, because I myself am very super thankful and fortunate for you guys. I have a lot of respect for you guys, and we just want to save our hobby, man. Like, we just want to be able to do what we do, you know, safely, and just be able to do it without having so many restrictions to where it's just not fun anymore, and it just becomes, you know, asinine pretty much.
I want to bring up real quick. Johnny DRC brings up something people bring up a lot, and he says, "Show me the risk assessment file." And so something that we were, you know, pretty specific about is trying to figure that out. And at the end of the day, like I said, the congressional mandate was not to make the skies safer. It had nothing to do with that. Unfortunately, the way it was written and the way it was interpreted by the FAA was get as many drones in the sky with remote ID as possible. The justification was not a requirement of the rule. And unfortunately, like, logically it is. I totally understand that. As a person, I agree with you. And one of the things we're presenting, one of the things that Dave Messina was a big part of, is developing this thing called target level of safety. And essentially, target level of safety is a way to say, hey, you think drones are this dangerous, but actually they're this dangerous, way less dangerous than you think they are. And target level of safety essentially uses new math, like math that we have now that we didn't have a long time ago, to do math about how a drone will crumple, how a drone shatters, like what all these damaging things that a drone could do, and then sets numbers out for like how dangerous, like how deadly these things are. And you find when you look at it that things like airplanes and helicopters are like hundreds and thousands of times more deadly than a drone would ever be. Yet the regulations are out of step with that. And part of our goal is to present target level of safety as an alternative to the current thinking, right? So hopefully we can use that as another angle. But I 100% agree, there is no real risk assessment. The risk assessment we have is target level of safety now, and that shows us that there's not much risk involved at all, right? So
right. And that's where, you know, normally when rules and stuff come into play, it's because of incidents, it's because of the safety factor. And then when you're not having these incidents, safe, and there's been no fatalities from drones, that's when people just get frustrated, because they're like, well, why do we need to do this if things have been safe and there hasn't been any incidents? Why? You know, and so I really appreciate you clarifying that and getting that out there. Yeah, so just make sure you check out ItsBlunty. His link to his channel is down in the video description. Make sure you check out Flight Test as well. And keep your eye out on the news because all this stuff is going to be coming. And this is something that we need the entire community's help to be able to do what we need to do to be able to pass it, to get things on a more level playing field. That's what I feel. Because if they're going to start enforcing, man, that's horrible. Like, that's awful. Nobody wants to hear that, right? Nobody wants to hear, oh man, I'm just out here flying in my local park, and now all of a sudden you got, police stopping you, asking you all these questions and fining you and all this and that. Like, that's horrible. That's horrible.
I'll say one other thing people may not have seen is the FPV Freedom Coalition. We added another core member, and so that the new core member his name is Rob Robertson, and he's actually a sergeant in the Arlington Police Department in the UAS division.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So his job in the police department is to train other police about UAS, use UAS on the job, all that kind of stuff. He's been a sergeant for a while now, and he's heavily involved in the police. Obviously he's heavily on our side. He understands FPV, he flies FPV a lot. He understands why it's dumb to do this regulation. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And so we've really been able to use him as a tool. We're starting to develop education. Arlington, Texas. But we're using him. We're basically using him to help develop education for these people. And our goal is to kind of get out in front of it, hopefully, and talk to a lot of these local municipalities, send them data that's sort of ahead of this FAA rhetoric from the LEAP program, where they're going to tell people, hey, drones are bad and you've got to do all these rules and blah, 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 right? It's discretionary. It's going to be up to the police whether they want to do anything. So, hopefully our goal is to get out there and tell them, like, hey, this is not dangerous. There's been no issues. They're really useful tools. It's great freedom, like all these kind of things. Like these are good things. We should have them. And and this is why. So Rob's been really helpful. We just added him on, I believe, a couple months ago, and he's been really helpful in getting us to understand like where the police are at with this stuff and what enforcement will look like. And I believe he said a few times that it's going to be a long time before any police are educated enough to really do heavy enforcement anywhere. Even with 25 people trying to do all this stuff, there's just not enough time in the day. There's so many police departments and so many people, and the levels to get there are so high. So it'll be interesting to see how everything rolls out, what enforcement actually looks like, what the rules are actually like, for people in the streets. I really wonder how much it will really matter if you have a remote ID or not. It's going to be hard to tell, if anybody's actually going to do anything, or if it's going to be super specific cases where you're just going to get fined more because you don't have remote ID, right?
Yeah, and as far as I can talk from experience, from what I've experienced in the past with law enforcement coming up to a site where we may be flying, security, stuff like that. Overall, it's usually in my area, it's usually a very positive experience because they just want to know what you're doing. When we explain what we're doing and then more or less show them what we're doing, by the time we get done talking to them, they're like, man, this is freaking cool. I had no idea like this technology existed. And they're like, yeah, man, like have fun, just be careful, don't obviously don't hit anybody or hit any property and do your thing. Usually it's a very positive, interaction. So I can totally see, if they're getting a positive interaction from us, I can see, them trying to work with us versus, oh, this guy's out here flying his drone. He doesn't have this, and slapping you with a $200 fine or whatever. I can see where, like you said, it may be some time before all that actually comes into play.
Yeah, one thing I would expect, Maddie's mentioned the FAA doesn't have the manpower. They have 25 members of LEAP, which that's going to be their goal, is to help law enforcement do enforcement. Otherwise, there's not a lot of people in the FAA to do actual field enforcement. But I think one thing we will see is anywhere that's not a FRIA is going to have FAA people present at those events. Like if they're big enough and you don't have a FRIA there, they're going to be there and they're going to expect you to have remote ID on your drone to be able to fly at those events. I'm pretty sure that's just going to be the case. And we've heard it just as much already. So there will be some changes, I think, if these places aren't able to get FRIAs. Unfortunately, the FRIA program does not allow for you to have a temporary FRIA or a FRIA for a place that does not see regular flight. So, if you have an event that's somewhere that people don't normally fly or isn't normally an FPV or drone location, it's going to be more difficult to get that license out for a FRIA. And then everybody that shows up is going to have a remote ID module to fly. And yeah, those are my major concerns, is these big events, very public things. Those are going to be where the shakeups happen, I think. And then very public people are going to be the shakeup there, right?
So. Yeah, I can see that as well. Well, guys, thank goodness we have the FPV Freedom Coalition. We have Blunty, Dave Messina, and everybody involved in that to be a voice in the room of reason, to be able to represent us in a way to hopefully, educate, the FAA, Congress, whoever you guys are able to get a meeting with. So yeah, when it comes time, man, I will definitely do my part, and I hope you guys all will too. When it's time to do our part and it's time to help out the FPV Freedom Coalition to make things better for our hobby, we need to go ahead and make a stand. We need to get this done. So it's time to put our boots on the ground. Blunty and everybody else has been putting their boots on the ground. They've been doing their part. Now it's time for the community to do its part. So just make sure you're following everything along. Make sure you're checking out what Blunty's got going on with the news as well, and with Flight Test.
Yeah, it's going to be hopefully a pretty exciting push that we'll have in the next week or two. And I mean, the big thing with Congress and congressional representatives and staffers is it's literally about who sends the most emails, because that to them means the most upset constituents who might or may not vote for them in the future. Right?
Yeah.
And so typically they're just like gung ho about whatever people are gung ho about, if it means that they're going to get voted in and it doesn't like deny their party line. So it'll be interesting to see how everything goes. But I'm super excited about that. And like I said, it's going to be big. Hopefully it'll feel like big news. I definitely agree. I think people will be excited about it tomorrow.
Yeah, you're excited. So I'm excited, man. I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah, but I can't tell you exactly what. But when you see it, you'll go, oh. Right. It's going to be one of those kind of things. So,
well, I think I think everybody in the community, man, we need some hope. We need a glimmer of hope. Like, we need a win. We've just been getting, one boot after the other. So a win in our direction, any kind of a win, I think would bring some hope to our community, which we need. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat from Johnny Flyer. Greatly appreciate that, brother. Thank you so much. And as you know, making it rain up in here, all of the money that comes into the channel, we put right back out into giveaways and such. So really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Really do appreciate the super chat. All right, Blunty. Well, it's time to go ahead and switch gears to our community standout portion, where me and Blunty are going to actually watch some of the videos that have been posted in my Discord server under the Send It Sunday / Send It Saturday live stream section. So let me get my banner switched around here, and let's watch some drone videos. What do you say?
All right.
That's right. So now is the community standout. And if you guys didn't know, I put a link to the Discord server down in the video description. So if you'd like to come join, be a member, it's free to join. And make sure you check out, while you're down in the video description, make sure you check out ItsBlunty's channel as well. Could definitely use some support. We greatly would appreciate that. All right. And first up, we have, get this ready here. All right. We have Starkey FPV doing some Rectoberfest chasing here. Now, I do have the volume turned down for copyright reasons, but if you want to check out the full video, make sure you check out his channel, which I will be posting down in the live chat here momentarily. Love the transition right there.
Yeah.
Really love drift chasing. It's like a whole nother hobby within our hobby.
Yeah, definitely. Takes a lot of practice to stay behind them. You got to work pretty hard to do that for sure.
Yeah, I got to experience it, and it is very challenging because you have to kind of plan ahead for what the driver's gonna do to be able to keep speed and slow down at the right time so you don't blow past them. And it's quite challenging. So he's doing a really good job of tracking them. And guys, we're going to do open Q&A towards the end of the stream. So make sure you hang out for that for Blunty. Oh, wow. I love that right there. I love how he did the yaw spin orbit, like right around the top of the car. That was cool. That was cool. Sure. Wow. Let me, oh, wow. I love the slow-mo right there. That was perfect. Man. And then he sped it up. Awesome flying, man. Really good flying. This is really good. Action-packed. I'm going to go ahead and get his channel pulled up so I can go ahead and share that in the live chat. Have you ever had a chance to do any drift chasing, Blunty?
No, not specifically drift chasing.
Okay. Is that on your bucket list at all?
Maybe. I'm not too big into the cinematic chasing stuff, but I could see doing it.
Yeah. It's kind of cool because, with freestyle, obviously, you want to do a variety of tricks and stuff to kind of make your footage stand out. But with chase footage, it's really all about the subject and how you kind of capture around that, which is just really, really interesting to see what different people do with that.
Yeah, one thing we've talked about on the news and a couple of in the roundup and stuff is the Medlin drone gimbal. And there's some, it's like an open source gimbal, but Medlin just makes one of them where it's like a head tracked gimbal that's separate from your FPV camera, so you can kind of, or that's attached to your FPV camera rather, so you can basically move it as you fly, and you can sort of like live track stuff with your head as you fly. I'd love to try that, chasing some drift cars.
I saw that and I thought, man, that's going to be like game changing for our hobby.
Yeah, you just gotta. It's very weird to fly because you're not used to your FPV camera moving. You typically know your drone angle and speed based on your camera, and suddenly you don't when your camera moves with your head. So
I can see that being a little bit disorienting, when you're used to the traditional locked camera angle and then going to that. I could definitely see it being a little bit disorienting at first. Yeah, Starkey FPV's channel is down in the live chat. If you haven't checked his channel out yet, please make sure you check him out. And make sure you check out Blunty's channel as well, down in the video description, and his website, ItsBlunty.com. Really awesome, Starkey. Thank you so much for sharing. Greatly appreciate that. Awesome video. That was cool fantastic.
Cool stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got one more community standout that we're going to watch. And then we will do the international giveaway, and then we'll do the open Q&A. All right. Moving right along. Okay. I meant to ask you, Blunty, what anything you can talk about. I want to talk about kind of like the future of ItsBlunty and what kind of things you have planned on the horizon for your channel and your website and everything. Anything any goals or anything you look to?
Not too much in the drone spectrum. Just kind of chilling, riding out what I'm doing so far, helping people on the daily and stuff, and just I don't know. I'm pretty happy with where I'm at and what I'm doing currently. I really don't like video editing. Like with a passion, I don't like video editing.
I can see why it could be a little bit tedious.
Yeah, and so I tend not to I haven't made a video in a long time on my channel just because I really dislike that whole process. I prefer the content with Bardwell. It's much easier. It's much easier with other people too. Like, I don't know. I can do content on my own, but it's much easier to work off with someone else. So I kind of
makes sense.
style of content. If I do anything in the future, it'll be some sort of podcast. But I'm not sure what that would be necessarily right now.
Okay. Yeah, podcast would be cool for sure. You've got like that nice, like smooth, like somber voice. Like it works really well. Like I'm more loud and obnoxious and all that, but you have like a really good, like nice, like, somber voice there. That would be nice for a podcast. Perfect.
Well, that's good to hear. And everybody hates their own voice, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, right? All right. I've got the other community standout pulled up. Hey, welcome in, Rob. Good to see you. And Joe Fodoleo. Good to see you guys. And Booster FPV. Welcome in. Welcome in. All right. I will go ahead and get the next community standout pulled up here. And this is Golden Hour Rusty Sticks Wall Banger. Doing some nice flying through here, and we got some trees. Little park area we're going to be flying. Yeah, and I'll put his link to his channel as well. I know some people are really like, they don't like to see props and shot, but I actually like to see the props and shot. I'm one of those weird people.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what you're going for, right? This is obviously meant to be an FPV video, so I think props and shot makes sense,
Absolutely. Oh, and guys, by the way, make sure you check out Fly Zone Drone. He's got Phantom FPV on his channel as well. So make sure you check out the Fly Zone Drone channel. He tries his best to not overlap my stream, so I really do appreciate that, Fly Zone. He's like, "Oh man, you're going live tonight." He's like, "I'll bump the show back." He tries not to do it at the same time, which is really awesome of him. I told him it's not expected. Not expected. Really nice flying here. I love the sun, as I'm assuming that the sun is coming up. Isn't that what golden hour means? Sun's coming up?
Or down. I don't know. I think it can be either, I would guess, but I'm not sure.
I could be wrong on that. It could be going up, going down, but I like that it's just barely over the trees there, and it's giving a really cool look to all the shadows and everything. He said, thought about it, but decided that today was not the day. He was trying to go through that hoop. That's cool. I'm going to go ahead and get his channel popped up here in the live chat as well. Oh, yeah, I did want to talk to you about something that I'm sure you've already heard about it, and it was quite sad. Did you hear what happened to Wesley Vardy with Casa?
Yep, definitely did.
That was a shame, man. I mean, such a awesome contributor to our hobby and testing out, gear and stuff like that. And man, I heard the news and I checked his channel and saw that he had pulled just about everything down. And I said, man, what a sad day in FPV. That was horrible.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it was extremely obviously breaking the rules. I mean, the video, the latest video was literally like 100-kilometer flight. So, unfortunately, all you need is one person to complain when you've got a video like that, and you're going to get a message. So, unfortunately, he did. I
know it's a double-edged sword because, you like to be able to see, what this gear is capable of doing. But obviously you don't want to see anybody, go down because of it. So hopefully, things don't get hammered on him too hard, hopefully. And hopefully he can pull through it okay. Cause I think he's just an awesome community member in our hobby. And I wish nothing but the best for Wesley Vardy. So
yeah, hopefully that stuff all works out okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully he doesn't, get too much going on. At least in the U.S., the FAA commonly, I don't know about CASA, but in the U.S., if the FAA contacts you the first and most likely the second, third, and fourth time, It's just a, hey, what are you doing? What was this video? Why did you do it? Okay,
Yeah.
you can't do that in the future. You shouldn't be doing that. It's very rare to see an enforcement action off a video or three. It's on, typically it's many, many videos, repeated issues, things like that, ignored warnings, etc. So
Right. Right. Exactly. I mean, it's not like he had, had warnings before that we know of.
right, right,
So this
yeah,
would technically be like a first offense kind of thing. And
yeah,
hopefully it's treated like that as well. And they just, give him a warning and, he took the footage down. So maybe that was all they required. And then, hopefully nothing else will come of it.
yep, yeah. I know the last I heard from him, he's still waiting to hear from them about how it's going to go on any further. So
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing, Wallbanger. And I'm going to go ahead and put the link to his channel down in the live chat. Thank you so much for sharing. I love the flying through the trees and everything. Really, really good stuff. All right. Let me go ahead and share. Oh, that's it actually. Go ahead and copy that link. And then I'll go ahead and put that in the live chat so you guys can check out his channel for yourself. There we go. I got that in there. Perfect. I put the link to his video, but you can definitely subscribe from there and make sure you check his channel out. And make sure you check out down in the video description. ItsBlunty, his channel as well, and also the website. And also, Blunty wanted to talk to you guys about, he does have the website for more in-depth helping of people. If you require, maybe like an hour or a video call, something that's going to take a little bit more time, he does have a website for that where he charges appropriately. But he also wanted to talk to you about a lot of the service that he does in the community for free, where he doesn't charge anything.
yeah, just I commonly get some misconceptions. I just wanted to clear up and make sure everybody knows that if you ever have any issues, you're free to message me in any way you'd like. And I typically help people for free over messaging, over email or Discord, typically Discord. That's what I do a lot of my day, many days, is just help people with whatever their issues are. And there's no charge or no issue for that at all. So, my Discord I put in the chat, that's ItsBlunty #9012. You can add me on Discord. I'm happy to help you any day of the week. That's also on my website. When you go to sign up, if you read the blurb for the paid service, it definitely describes all this and make sure you understand that I'm happy to do work for free. There's no reason for you to pay unless you want to pay or unless you need specific help at that time, like and me to sit down with you and take time. So, otherwise, I'm here for you. Please let me know. I know sometimes people have just a random question they don't understand or a thing they heard about or whatever. Feel free to shoot me a message. If I don't respond, I'm busy and I'll get back to you later. You know what I mean? There's no burden. There's no issue. It's not a problem. It doesn't take too much time. So, yeah, never feel bad about that.
Awesome, man. Well, that's really awesome. Thank you so much for all your contributions to helping others in the hobby. And I myself, am here as a resource as well. You guys ever have any questions, feel free to hit me on YouTube. You can come to my Discord. I've got a FPV and a camera drone help section. You can go in there and I can try to help you through there. I've got my email posted in all my videos. So anything I can do to help out somebody and Blunty as well, make sure you reach out to us, let us know, and we will do our best to help you guys out. And I think that's amazing that you offer that kind of time. Like you were saying earlier, we were talking before the show. You have spent a lot of time, helping others and haven't charged anything. And that's amazing. So thank you so much.
Yeah. I mean, it's always how I've been. I just try to help people get through stuff. I want people to, it sucks. My main driver for it really, other than just, being nice and helping people and stuff, the main driver is really just like the worst feeling to me, the absolute worst feeling, like the worst feeling in the world is going to buy something and it not working, right? Like you spend your hard-earned money, you spent like all the money you saved for 3 months or 5 months or however long. Like you spent all the extra money you had, even just this month, on something, And then you spend all this time, you spend all these hours and working on it, and you can't figure it out. It doesn't work, and it feels broken, or the lights aren't flashing the way you think, and you're banging your head against the wall, and you want to give up. Like those are the kind of situations I empathize with, and like I hate. I feel it in my soul. I hate it. And I want to get rid of all those moments for people if I can. My goal is to get you through that time. Like, so if you have those issues, we can figure it out. And you can get what you paid for, and you can get in the air because that was your goal. That's what I'm trying to do. So,
and we've both been there, so that's
100%.
how when that sting, when man, I have spent this long, all this time, soldering and building and figuring out, one hurdle after the other and setting up on Betaflight, and going through all these hurdles, and then you go to fly and then something doesn't go right. It just kills you. You're just like, oh man, like and then when you don't know the answer, when you don't know what's causing it, that can really be discouraging. So definitely reach out. There's plenty of resources in this awesome community, plenty of awesome people that can help you out. Blunty, myself, people in the chat, reach out. And I don't want anybody to ever feel like you're asking a dumb question or, a question where you feel like, you're scared to ask because, you think someone's going to make fun of you. That is not what my community is about. I have had, questions that for some may be difficult and for others may not be difficult, and that's okay. Never feel that a question is too, minute or whatever to ask it. That's why the resources are here. We're here to help. And, someone getting in the hobby, fresh in the hobby, is going to have questions that maybe a lot of us know the answer to. Doesn't mean it's a silly question, because we were all new at one point. We all had those questions. So, and Blunty's the same way. Never feel like you have a question that you can't ask, because you feel that it's too simple of a question.
Absolutely.
Oh, no.
Those are the easiest.
Mike said, "Stay off the ELRS Discord." Then, oh no. Oh well. Hopefully that improves. Hopefully that that won't become an issue. Hopefully that will get ironed out.
Just remember, if you're not paying for support, be happy to get the support you get. There's a lot of great people, but all these people are doing it of their own volition, free time, and unpaid. So if people get upset or have a long day or are snappy back to you, they're only doing it because, how their day went or what they're feeling or how it's going or whatever happened. And if you can push through that, you can honestly often get great information. So yeah, just remember that when
okay. He said kidding mostly. All right. Maybe ran into somebody who's having, like you
hear that a lot
a bad
from
day. Or
many different Discords. You hear that about, and just remember that it's often somebody's just having a bad day or had a bunch of stuff go on or whatever, and don't take anything personally from most people. That's something you got to learn. If you're a creator on the internet, you learn that pretty quickly. Most people are in their own head, they're doing their own thing, and their comments are actually at themselves or that they're angry when they're mad. So don't take any of that stuff to heart, and just use it the best you can as a tool to learn more. Right. That's what
and then look, if one door closes, that doesn't mean that you can't go and open another door. So if you go somewhere and you feel, that you weren't welcomed or you didn't feel like you really got the help that you deserved, go open another door, check out another resource. That's the great thing about this hobby is there's a ton of resources that you can go and get help. So yeah, I invite anybody, like I said, links are all down in the video description of every one of my videos, every one of my live streams. There is links to my email, to the Discord server, to my Facebook group. There's so many resources. Blunty's website or Blunty's channel is down in the video description as well. Make sure you check out your resources and make sure you get with people that are going to help you. And don't let one bad experience, basically don't judge the whole community on one bad experience. Cause just like any hobby or community, there's going to be a couple bad eggs, right? That's just the way it is. You may have a couple
Yes.
bad eggs. You may have somebody who just wasn't having a good day and decided to take it out with the keyboard. Don't let that discourage you from the hobby, because not everybody's going to be like that.
Yes. Yeah. The other thing I want to remind people is, if you're having a bad day and the soldering isn't working and your things aren't binding, put it down and walk away. I think people don't understand that, like, just because you decided today needs to be 4 hours you working on the drone until it works, doesn't mean that that's going to work out, and doesn't mean that you need to spend 4 hours trying and knocking your head against the wall. The best decisions, the best feeling, the best everything is going to be when you walk away and you come back and you go, oh, I totally didn't notice that. I was too busy doing this other thing. Or, oh, it's a new day and somebody else is online to help me. Or, whatever it is, right? Oh, it's a new day and I restarted my computer and there were changes. There's a lot of things that can happen in a day, or even just in a few hours. And calming down and taking some time and giving some time off can definitely be super valuable for people who get frustrated, because it's very easy to sit there and keep pounding your head and keep driving it in and just making a bad experience out of the whole thing. So
That is great advice, and I've actually had to swallow that pill myself. And man, let me tell you, it was not easy. It was not an easy thing to do, because I, like a lot of others, am very stubborn. I get very stubborn, and I get very much in my own head, and I get very much to, no, I am going to fix this tonight. I don't care how many more hurdles I run into. But it got to the point where it was literally depressing me. I was getting so depressed. I was getting so down and out, because everything I would try, it would just be another failure, another failure, another failure. So I said, you know what? I'm done. I threw the quad on the table. I threw my tools down. I turned out my light and I went upstairs. And guess what? Came back the next day and I figured it out.
Yep.
Yes. Great advice, Blunty. Great advice.
It's invaluable. I mean, I learned that professionally too. Like, especially with complex, like I did HVAC controls work for a while, and sometimes you're having to, like, we did PID loops there too. You're like mapping out how the whole temperature and humidity controls work for the building. And often you spend an hour in there and you're doing mapping, and your head just gets tired and you want to keep going because you want to finish the project. But if you walk away and come back, you've learned, like, your brain, that neuroplasticity or whatever has, like, built all that in overnight. And now suddenly you have all that information already and you can work from there. And, like, yeah, that stuff, it's just so invaluable to go and get a good night's sleep and then come back to something. It just helps so much. So,
there is definitely something to that. Yeah. Exactly. I've experienced it myself. So I agree with you 110%.
I'll just say the same thing with simulator. Instead of spending 4 hours one day on a simulator and making yourself crazy as you're learning, spend 30 minutes and then come back in 12 hours and spend 30 minutes and then sleep and then come back and spend 30 minutes. And to me, I'm way better when I do that, because that, like, whatever that is, sleeping overnight and learning those skills, like, it's so helpful, like, to push me forward. And then I can spend 4 hours grinding once I've done that for a long time and I've built up that like, almost like basic muscle memory in your brain. You've built, like, all these, like, feeling, like, even like learning a new track when I would do whoop tracks for, like, a weekly Velocidrone stuff. You spend the first night, you fly it a couple times just so it's in your brain. Then you go to sleep and then you wake up and, okay, yeah, now I remember how to get through this already. And now I can just learn the track. I can get faster at the track and stuff. So yeah,
absolutely. Hey, welcome in, Carolina Air Shots. Good to see you. And we also had RC Ritter show up. Good to see you, brother. We did a community standout earlier with one of your Rectoberfest videos. Excellent job. Love the drift chasing, some amazing flying. No, I'm sorry. It wasn't RC Ritter. That was Starkey. I'm sorry. I said the wrong thing. Sorry about that. Well, welcome in, RC Ritter. I got you confused with somebody else. But if you would like to have your video shown on a future live stream, make sure you check out the Discord server down in the video description and post your video that you would like shown on a future live stream in the Send It Sunday / Send It Saturday live stream section. So apologize about that. I got you guys confused. So sorry about that. All right. Do we have any international viewers in here? Because I want to go ahead and do the international giveaway. Anybody here international outside the U.S.? Let's see if there's anybody in here, because there's no sense in doing it if there's no one in here that's outside the U.S. We did do a U.S. giveaway earlier in the live stream. So, is there anybody here that lives outside of the U.S.? So we could do an international giveaway. I'll wait for the chat to come in. Not seeing anything. Hey, what's up, Drone Poison? Welcome in. And Brandon Beans, good to see you as well. Anybody in here outside of the U.S.? Yeah, Carbon Cage is outside the U.S., but I haven't seen him in tonight. I have not seen Carbon in tonight. I apologize if I missed him, but I didn't see him. All right. What's going on in here? Well, we are getting ready to, we were going to do a international giveaway for my international viewers. But at this time, I do not think we have any international viewers here. So we will go ahead and move to the open Q&A. If there is no international viewers here, we did a USA giveaway earlier in the stream. Okay, not getting any feedback, so I'm going to assume that everybody in here is in the US. All right.
All right.
Let me go ahead and switch it over to the open Q&A, guys. All right, open Q&A is open. Now, just keep in mind some of the things that we talked about, that Blunty talked about earlier, he's not going to be able to talk about till tomorrow. So some things he may not be able to answer, tonight, but he will do his best to answer what he can.
Yeah. Pretty much everything most people are going to ask about, I should be able to answer. So I should be happy to let people know.
Perfect. Welcome in, Callie. Yeah, absolutely. The live stream upload should be available tomorrow sometime, as well as I'll have a regularly scheduled upload tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you're new here, welcome. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us tonight. And if you wouldn't mind checking out my channel as well, and if you like what you see and you had a good time, consider subscribing. And make sure you check out Blunty's channel as well down in the video description. Check out what he's got going on, as well as he's on the FPV news pretty much every Tuesday, unless things pop up. And then also a member of the FPV Freedom Coalition, and he recommended earlier that you check out Flight Test as well.
Yeah, Flight Test Community Association, especially their YouTube channel tomorrow. They're kind of our partner in working with the government, or at least they've been helping us in a lot of initiatives. And tomorrow, we have a big announcement, so it's going to be
perfect.
Exciting.
Can't wait for that. Yes. So if anybody has any questions for Blunty, myself, or the chat, now is the time. And Drone Poison wanted to say hello to Blunty and hope you're doing great.
Yeah. Good to see you. Thanks for coming out.
All right. Double A with the first question. He wants to know, how young are you?
I am 32.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I honestly thought that you were probably closer to my age. I will, and that's not an insult. It's got to be the beard. It's got to be the beard. There's a lot of wisdom in that beard, man. I will actually be 40 this year. So, nice. Wow. Mike Birdman wanted to know if it's going to be a positive announcement. I'll let you take that.
Yes. Yes. It's basically an initiative we're starting. We're going to push to Congress. Yes. I think there's a good chance that we'll get somewhere with it, because we're not pushing it to the FAA, we're pushing it to Congress. So I'm saying yes, it's a positive announcement.
And boy, do we need
here's what I'm going to say. it's as positive announcement as you're going to get.
Yeah.
With the FAA and remote ID and with this whole shabacle. Yeah, unfortunately, this is the best you're going to do. So, RC Ritter, real quick, I just want to answer. Do you have any news about FRIAs? So, I talked a little bit about it, but essentially, the FAA only wants 4,000 FRIAs in the United States. And so, unfortunately, because of that, it looks like we're not going to have FRIA exceptions in many places. Like they said, specifically, no backyard FRIAs, no single person FRIAs. They're against that. They want as
Oh,
many.
no.
They want as many module-based drones in the air as possible. So
Man,
that's kind
that
of
means JB won't be able to get one for his yard.
That's correct. Yeah.
Oh, man. That
Like I
stinks.
said, 4,000 for the entire country. It's the and there's 2,500 AMA fields. So if that gives you some
Wow.
idea.
Yeah. Double A says, do you have a backdrop in mind for the new place to live stream?
Not in general. Not really.
Okay.
I'm here to do the stream. I'm not too worried about all that stuff. So
There you go. Let's see if I miss. King Keek. Do you ever converse with XJet about rules and regulations, insight, tactics, etc. regarding this FAA bullcrap? I appreciate what you do and the people who work with you as well as I do.
So we do communicate with XJet. I mean, he shows up a lot for anybody who doesn't know. Every other week on the FPV Freedom Coalition Discord, me and the other FPV Freedom Coalition guys get together on voice chat with everybody else, and we do sort of a bi-weekly roundup of the stuff that happens in the news, and then we talk for a while and we answer questions there. So typically XJet shows up to those, and we have some conversations with him through the chat in those respects. The one thing I'll say is we respect everybody's position. XJet's position is typically non-compliance, right? So, XJet basically wants you to not comply as a, because complying, means that the rules are okay and all those kind of things. He has his opinions about how that stuff works. And the FPV Freedom Coalition still would recommend and pushes the agenda that people do comply. And we're going to make it as easy as possible for people to comply. That's our goal, right? So, we do have some discussions with him, and I totally understand where he's coming from and respect his position. But just as a group, we have the position of we do still look for compliance, and it is still in our best benefit to comply to the rules as best we can. So we respect you if you don't comply. We're not saying you gotta. We're not telling anybody what they have to do. We're just telling you that that's our position as a group. So that's sort of where we differ. But I totally respect all of XJet's positions, and I understand he has insight and things like that as well. So.
Well, and that's the thing, like, if the FPV Freedom Coalition is not going to comply or push for compliance, then why would the FAA or congressman even consider having a conversation with them? That's the thing. Like, you have to be compliant to be able to be heard, to be listened to be considered to make a change, right? Like, if you're not going to comply as a voice for FPV, then why would they even take the time to listen to you? They're just going to be like, well, they're not complying anyway, so why are we even sitting down and listening to them? So that makes sense that you guys would be, for compliance, and that's what you guys are kind of pushing for. But keep in mind that even though they're pushing for compliance, they're also pushing for us and what we want, and to try and be like a mediator between FPV, the FAA, to keep things safe. But I think you guys are trying to push, overregulation is a little bit of an issue, and you're trying to kind of hurdle through that to keep things safe, keep things compliant, but at the same time, not make it so difficult to where people are just not going to comply at all.
Yeah, our initial goal was FRIA first, right? Our goal was to basically get everybody a backyard FRIA so everybody could comply legally in the same way they did. Everywhere you fly would be a FRIA. Unfortunately, the FAA is not interested in working with us on that, and has no interest in making those FRIAs that we look for, those backyard FRIAs. So all I can say is we have another solution. Hopefully, that's what next tomorrow we'll be announcing that solution. RC Ritter mentions he wishes the weight was increased. Definitely keep an eye out for the news, on those kind of topics as well. There's a lot of options we have, and hopefully we can come to an option that that everybody will agree with, basically, that Congress will push and that we can eventually get carve-outs for. But yeah, we just got to figure out the strategic way to do that, how to best present it, like all those kind of things, and that's something we've been working at pretty heavily. So
okay. RC Ritter says, how about the PDX park?
Is that Bachrander's Park? Is that what we're talking about?
Well,
PDX Park?
I thought he called it the fpvpark.com.
Okay.
But maybe that's what he's referring to. As far as making that a FRIA, right.
So I would suggest that you get in touch with the FPVFC. We're submitting free applications for people, but we're just not 100% sure, what's going to happen with acceptance. We still have not been given great guidelines as to what they're going to accept. Basically, we need a design and purpose statement for people of what they're going to do with the property. However, the FAA hasn't told us what the correct design and purpose would be. Right? We don't even know what they're looking for, right? So, unfortunately, we'll do the best we can. And if you're interested in submitting it, we can definitely attempt to submit that. You basically just need to be able to fly there legally. You fly there often, and then document that, and then get us that information. So we've got a checklist. I believe we have a checklist on our website currently of the information you need to collect to submit a FRIA. So we'll definitely need all that, like, kind of square footage and location and all that jazz. So.
Okay. Is this something where you could get 20 people together and designate a 5-acre semi-private park?
The answer is we don't know, because like the way the rules read, like, okay, for instance, they say FRIAs cannot be co-located within a certain distance of each other, right? But that distance isn't defined. So we don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
So the way I understand it is, if you have right now we have what, 3 CBO options?
4 technically, yeah.
4, okay.
Yeah.
The way I understand it is, if you have, let's just say a FPV park, where this is going to be a designated place where people are going to come and fly, just like a flying field, but obviously it's mainly for FPV. If they were to apply for the CBO to run the park under the CBO guidelines, then maybe they could apply for a FRIA. But I guess, like you said, there's only going to be 4,000 approved.
Yeah. I mean, that's what the FAA is estimating, at least. I would suggest that those are kind of separate things. Yeah. So like, you don't, like, if we submit your FRIA, you don't have to fly under our rules. It's sort of a separate process, where the CBOs are just a vessel to get the information to the FAA. And I mean, when you do this government stuff, you start to realize how many holes are on all this stuff and what doesn't make sense, right? Because, like, from what we understand, the CBOs don't have any liability here, right? If we submit a FRIA, nothing says we're liable for what happens on that FRIA. Nothing says, like, we're liable for even submitting correct information, technically. You know what I mean? It's like, it's very weird how it's set up, because you would expect that if you're submitting under a CBO, like, that CBO would, like, vet the area and make sure that it's correct, and they would submit a corrected thing. And then, you're supporting that FRIA in the future, and you're monitoring it and keeping in touch with those people. But, like, none of those are requirements. It's sort of like we're just a conduit to get them submitted. And it really doesn't make much sense. So.
Whoa, Ken Herron with a $10 super chat.
What's up, Ken?
Thanks. Thank you so much. Greatly appreciate the support, man. Thank you so much. Ken making it rain up in the house tonight. He destroyed some of the, man, how do you say this? Toroidal? Toroidal. There we go. Toroidal. He destroyed some toroidal props today. Awesome, man. Can't wait to see that video. We know that's going to be interesting for sure. Man, I've seen a lot of those props just explode from people printing them and stuff. I guess the preferred material for those would be like PETG. Is that right?
That's what people have been talking about. I think there's a couple companies attempting to inject and mold them now, and I think if they can get that down at a reasonable cost, I know there's problems with the way they have to be injection molded and like the angles and stuff. But I think if they can get down at a reasonable cost, it'll probably just be injection molded plastic stuff. But yeah, I think the printed ones people are doing PETG. So
Ken always has a spotter all the time. He's got the pigeons with him too. The pigeon jerkies, right? Oh man, good stuff. He said 64,000 RPM, 4S motors with a 6S battery. Ooh, 8,000 FPS, high speed video. Excellent. That's going to be so cool to watch. Make sure you check out Ken's channel if you haven't already to see that. That's going to be awesome. That's cool. Yeah, he asked if it was at the Penis Bridge. That was a funny video. I enjoyed that. Oh, man. Brandon Bean says, can have a ton of fun for under 500. Yeah, even to be honest, 350, but 250 is tough. Well, I would say that, the technology has come a long way for the sub 250 stuff. You can even get a 5-inch frame, and get it under 250 now. I mean, and fly great. There's a lot of frames out in the market now, 5-inch included, that can get you under 250. Now, is it going to be the most durable? Probably not. I mean, if you hit a concrete wall with that, it's probably going to be bad news. But at least the option's there. He said so many. That's funny.
Yeah, I mean, all that stuff will be interesting to see. I mean, right now nobody's weighing your drone, right? So, like,
right? Is it like going to be like the scales, like when the police roll up to a truck to weigh like a tractor trailer? Are they going to pull out the scale and be like, all right, get in line with your drones. We're going to start weighing in.
Right. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. How that all works out. We really don't know. Or if it'll even happen, really, or any of those kind of things. So,
it seems like it would take a lot more resources and effort, to enforce something like this. And I got to be honest, Blunty. I mean, the law enforcement have so many more things that are much more important to be worrying about. Let's be honest here. I mean, you've got crime, you've got burglaries and murders and domestic disputes and, accidents. And I mean, there's just so much more stuff to me that just takes precedent over, a couple people flying their drone over in the park. You know what I mean?
Yes, definitely. It's going to be very discretionary, at least for a long time. It's going to be super there are cops that like to write tickets, right?
Right.
And I feel like those are going to be the kind of people who find out about these laws and then use them to their advantage to, have a reason to stop you and figure out what you're doing wrong and then write you a ticket, And I expect that often it'll just be a reason to justify a police ticket because as far as I know, there's no money in them referring anything to the FAA, right? If they get you in trouble, and then they send a referral to the FAA with your information. That's the FAA's money from the fine if they get the fine, so.
Double A asks, since the radar has been adapted to see the balloons, do you think we make splotches from the freestyle or racing? It's a good question.
I think probably not. I'm going to guess no.
A lot smaller than the balloons, I would say.
Yeah.
This is my stance on it, guys. I think that if you're being safe and you're not drawing unwanted attention to yourself, I think you have a better. Now, I'm not condoning anybody to not follow any rules or anything like that, but I will say that I think that if someone is genuinely being unsafe, flying around people, crashing into things they shouldn't be crashing into, being obnoxious, stuff like that, I think you're going to have way more of a target on your back for law enforcement or someone to report you to the authorities to where they're going to look into you further. Right. But I feel like if you're being safe you're trying to do the right thing. You're not trying to fly around people. You're not trying to damage property. You're not, making a bunch of ruckus. I feel like you're probably going to be okay, and you probably won't get hassled for the most part.
Yeah. I think, there's a lot of people who kind of just make a hassle to make a hassle. Like, I used to skateboard, and when you go out with all the guys on skateboard, there's some of the guys who want to, fuck stuff up and spray paint stuff and break stuff
Right.
and make a mess. And then there's a lot of us who were attempting not to get in trouble with the cops and didn't want to get anybody called and are just trying to skate in public places without getting in trouble, and unfortunately we saw a lot of, they're so common as a skater to get branded as someone who's just going to make problems because, a few people do that a lot. So I think I see that sometimes in FPV as well. People who don't necessarily respect where they're at or respect that, they don't necessarily have a right to be there. And they're kind of, they're getting lucky to fly in that place. There's a lot of private places we fly who we could be trespassed or kicked out of that people let us fly all the time. So, just remember the other side of it. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of places that we tend to like to fly, especially for freestyle, usually are private property. So it's just a matter of, can you fly the place without actually yourself stepping onto the property? Because at that point, if you're physically not standing on the property, but you're flying the property, technically you're okay. As long as it's, obviously if it's in, navigable airspace.
All I'm saying is it's technically okay. But if you're pissing off the guy who's there because you're like, no, I'm not touching you, which is what you're doing with the drone flying, from a distance and stuff. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. Typically that doesn't work out well. Typically they're going to find some way to get mad at you or get in trouble. Or when you drop a drone, you're not going to be able to go get it, even though you might legally be supposed to. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things that, I don't know. The law doesn't always work on your side, and that sort of thing is something I notice a lot. So if you can play nice, you can typically get a lot farther with things.
Well, I think that the general consensus, from what I've heard and seen in the community, is basically, if enough of us don't comply, then how can they enforce it, and how can they, get all of us fines and what have you. Yeah. And, it's a shame that it's gotten to that point because, a lot of us feel that we just haven't been listened to, and, the rules, they just keep getting, more strict and more strict. And it just seems like our voice isn't being heard with, well, we're not injuring people. We're not killing people. So why do we have to have all these restrictions? So I am very excited to hear the new news that comes out tomorrow, because we as a community, we need a win. We need some good news about all this, because it's been daunting. It's been, kicking a lot of us down, because this is a hobby for so many, including myself. And I'm sure you as well, Blunty, that this hobby has changed my life in such a positive way. It has helped me, through mental health. It has helped me just learn, new skills, new trades, meet amazing people, be a part of an awesome community, give back, free my mind.
Yeah.
And when you threaten to make it so difficult to be able to do it, it really, it puts people back in that, that mental mindset of no, you're not going to do this. When you feel like you have more restrictions on your drones that you just want to go out and enjoy versus, me going out and purchasing a firearm, that's a huge problem. That's a huge problem.
Unfortunately, we don't have a Second Amendment for drones.
I know, right? Yeah. Boy, do we need one, right?
Yeah, but a lot of people feel it's a First Amendment issue, and like we should have the right to do these things. And unfortunately, it seems like in a lot of cases we don't. But we're gonna do the best we can to keep fighting for that and keep pushing as best we can to let people, my viewpoint is if you're not complying, at least I can make it so if you end up being the one random person who gets in trouble, because enforcement probably won't be crazy, but if you do end up getting in trouble, we want to make it so you're getting less in trouble. You know what I mean? Like that, even if you're not complying, hopefully we can benefit you in some way, right? That's the way I look at it. So
Absolutely, Blunty, and you are basically well, you're not wearing a cape, but basically to me, you're wearing a cape, man. You are my superhero when it comes to these drone regs and being that voice in the room, to be able to have boots on the ground in that room, someone who is in this hobby, who knows what we're passionate about, knows what this is doing to us mentally, physically, monetarily. Because think about it, this is a huge burden for someone like myself, JB, someone who reviews drones on a regular basis. Like to be able to say, oh, you have to purchase a remote ID transponder for every single drone that you have. I mean, that could be a huge burden for a lot of us.
Yeah, it's going to be a real mess. And then, I mean, for people who don't know as well, like, okay, technically the way the law is written, if your drone is manufactured after September 2022, you cannot use that drone commercially with the module. This is not allowed because of the way the law is written. You have to have a standard remote ID drone that you purchase, or you have to have a drone that's manufactured before September 2022. Now, is it possible to prove when a DIY drone is manufactured? Not really.
Right.
Is anybody going to assume it's manufactured after that time instead of before? I don't know that there's a legal precedent for that. But I can tell you definitely the other drones, like if there's any drone you find a way to buy after that date, that's like a DJI or Autel or somebody. I mean, DJI is not selling anything without remote ID, but if you find something without remote ID, you're not going to be able to commercially fly that after September of this year without having a standard remote ID in it. It's going to be weird. I think we're probably going to end up recommending most people just slap a module on anyway and use that to comply. At least you're broadcasting remote ID commercially. But yeah, I mean, these laws are not helpful. I mean, they're not
right.
They're not nice. They're not like easy to comply with. They make it difficult, and they don't consider how we work. And there's a lot of commercial people that do this work. If you think about, we're a nonprofit organization funded by people, and these other companies are commercial organizations funded by shareholders and bottom line and dividends, and you know what I mean. Like they're doing their work to get things like advanced air mobility off the ground, where you have big big drones to carry around people as air taxis. Like all these rules are being worked around by companies who have skin in the game, and the only people there really, I mean, the AMA doesn't show up very much. It's pretty much just us, and then Flight Test every now and then. Like Flight Test works with us, but there's nobody else there for the hobby. Like there's very few recreational at all. I mean, it's not like there's DJI recreational people there. Like there's no recreational people there. Like we're
Right.
FPV and recreational drones. Like it's just the nobody's, there's no, when we're in our tasking groups, like working on this stuff, like Dave is like like the only person who's there for rec. Like it's really insane how bad it is. From that, if you think about it like that, where we really have no representation. So honestly, we just do the best we can to do how much we can to represent and poke as many bears as we can. You know what I mean? We're trying to let people know, like, hey, we're here and this is what we're trying to do, and we want to make sure that we get support for us. And I want to say, Brandon points out the FAA is trying to support commercial drone interests to destroy DIY. I think I want to say that I don't think that's a pointed agenda. I think that's a result of the situation we're in. Does that make sense? So
that makes sense.
Yeah, because there's companies getting paid
mm-hmm.
to show up and do all this work and to be on these tasking groups and to push agendas for commercial pilots. Like, I think that's why we're seeing a lot of this stuff. We're seeing these people get involved and get paid and do this stuff all the time. And there's very few recreational representation outlets and things. And I think that's a lot of why we see a lot of this commercial push, is because those are the people who are in these meetings, driving these groups and doing this stuff. And to his credit, Dave is always at the forefront of these groups. Dave led the BVLS stuff and the target level of safety stuff. And, hopefully that'll be able to carve out holes for BVLS and shielded operations and target level of safety. But, it's just tough. It's like it feels very much like an uphill battle, and there's just nobody else really. It feels like there's very few people there with us. So
No, I completely understand. And, it feels like pretty much, and I hope nobody gets offended by this, but this is just the way I feel personally. It feels like the AMA has pretty much abandoned FPV. It seems like FPV has just been abandoned by the AMA. So the only really hope that I see is the FPV Freedom Coalition. It's the only hope that I see for our hobby to be able to be that voice in the room, to be able to talk some reason, hopefully, into the right people. That's the key, right? Like, you got to get in front of the right people with the right information.
I mean, Dave has been building these relationships for years and years and years and years and years. Like the reason we get to talk to the people we do, and the reason we're in the meetings we are, is because Dave has put in the time and the work and the effort to create these relationships and be there at every step and turn and get all these people on the mailing list. And people know who he is when he emails them and talks to them and stuff. And that's how we're in the meetings we're in. That's how we know the information we do. That's why we're not just sitting here blind. At least we're in the we had a call with all the CBOs, and the AMA was a part of that. But that's because we made that happen. The FPVFC got together and said, like, hey, we need this meeting with CBOs so we can talk about the status of FRIAs with the FAA. So the FAA made up a meeting, called all the CBOs together, and that's where we found out, like, oh, there's only 4,000 and they don't want personal FRIAs and all these things, right? But at least we were able to get that information so we could move our efforts. We're not fighting against a wall we're not going to get through, and the time's crunching. So we're going to do the best we can to make it easier to comply and to make less rules. I mean, that's the goal for sure. So.
And I think that there's just a huge disconnect from the FPV community and the FAA, period. They have, there's just a huge disconnect, and we need a win. We need some kind of a hope, some kind of a win to be able to work together, to be able to get some sort of overall consensus for compliance, right? Because as long as you have this huge disconnect, you're going to see massive non-compliance. You're going to see massive non-compliance, and that's not good. That's not good because, now you got people that are getting threatened, going to be threatened to possibly, get in trouble, get fined or what have you. And it's just a vicious cycle because we need to be able to work together. And if we can just come to some sort of understanding where they can get what they want a little bit, but we can still get something that we want, and just kind of, there has to be compromise, right? Like, this is supposed to be, it has to be some compromise. It can't just be, our way or the highway, because that's what you're going to get. If it's always going to be our way or the highway, everybody's going to choose the highway, because there's got to be, there's got to be a little bit of negotiation. There has to be a little bit of give and take here.
Yeah.
Something.
Definitely.
We just need some kind of a win, something.
One thing I also want to point out, I'm not, these aren't convenient. They're just true. Okay. So, when you look back at the case that RDQ did, Tyler Brennan pushed to the FAA, and you look at the judge's decisions, the judges were very specific. We can't move forward on this because there's been no action taken. There has been no enforcement. Right. So, and that was the ultimate decision that they made, was you're complaining about something that hasn't happened yet. And we can't take action on something that hasn't been enforced. You know what that sounds like to me? Is there's a lot of room to do this once something's been enforced. So I would expect to see some other lawsuit. Now, who's going to be funded for it and how it's going to work out and when it will happen and any of those things, I can't tell you that answer. I'm hoping we'll find a solution for that and somebody will be able to do it. But the case will be there once there's enforcement. Because then you can make arguments based on that enforcement action and how it was handled and what rules were used and things like that, and instead of speculation about which was the RDQ situation. I mean, commendable for them to get in front of it, but unfortunately, just not turned out to not be the right approach for what the appeals court wanted.
So basically, it was just a little bit too early.
Yeah, I mean, they said there's been no enforcement actions taken. Which the problem with that is, and everybody knows this, is that means you're telling me that if there's unjust rules, I have to let them be unjust. I have to let them happen, them be enacted. And then people get in trouble and possibly lose their livelihoods over those actions. And then we can try to get rid of them, right? But unfortunately, this is the way democratic process works in the U.S. And it's just the unfortunate truth. So just a reminder that was the result of that case. They didn't say no. They didn't totally outright deny everything. They went through and specifically stated like, hey, there hasn't been an enforcement action. There's nothing to be suing over. Come back, basically come back when something happens, I think was sort of the way I read it. So I'll be interested to see, what happens in the future. So,
well, the good news is, guys, if you're here and you're feeling down and out about all this, the good news is Blunty has said in the stream that we do have some good news coming.
Yeah.
So there's hope. And not only that, but be ready, guys, because we need the community to be ready, because there's going to be a call to action for us to be able to help the FPV Freedom Coalition in the push for what's to come. And we need this win. We need this win more than ever. So just be ready. Make sure you're up to date with Blunty's channel, the FPV News on Tuesdays. I believe it's 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Or is it? No, 6. I'm sorry, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The news and the Flight Test Community. Is it the Flight Test Community Organization YouTube?
Association. Flight Test Association.
Yep. Make sure you check out that as well, because there's going to be some news coming, some good news. Yep. And you guys are not going to want to miss that. There's going to be some hope.
Yeah, I was going to say hope is the good word. Hope is the right word. There's going to be some hope, and it's going to take some people working for it. But we got shut down on the FRIA thing, and we were staying positive. That's all I can. That's what I'm going to say. So.
Yeah, and that's all we can do, right? I mean, we just got to try to stay positive and just stick together, because, while individually we are not many, together we are many. Together we are a community. Together we have a way louder voice together than we do separately. So I feel if we can band together and a call to action is made and we can get together on this and do what's needed on our part, we have a better chance of making things happen.
Absolutely.
And
even
thank
if you don't
you
want to
so
comply,
much, Blunty, for
you can send a letter.
Yeah. And like I said, when I did my comment, for the NPRM when it first was put out for comment, it took me like 10 minutes. It took me 10 minutes to write up my comment. And thankfully for everybody else that put their comment in, it made a difference.
Yeah, it really did.
The worst thing that you can do if you love this hobby is nothing. Because if you do nothing, you're just contributing to nothing changing.
Yes.
So I really do appreciate everything you have done, Blunty. I appreciate all of the information that we have talked about on the show tonight. And we are all looking forward to what's to come.
Yes.
And we're very fortunate and thankful to have yourself, Dave Messina, and all of the awesome members in the FPV Freedom Coalition as a voice in the room to stand up for this hobby.
Yeah. Please know we are trying. I just want, it's hard to see sometimes, but we're trying, man. We're doing the best we can. That's what I'll say.
Absolutely, man. And like I said, the community just needs some hope. And if we can get some of that hope, man, I feel like it's going to make such a positive difference, Yeah. Hey, JRFPV, welcome as well. And if you missed the show, don't worry. The live replay should be out tomorrow, sometime in the late morning, early afternoon after YouTube does its thing. So make sure you check out the replay. Make sure you check out ItsBlunty's channel down in the video description, and make sure you check out ItsBlunty.com if you need a significant amount of Blunty's time. You need to get more of a personal, video one-on-one chat. He does offer a service, and he also does a lot of help in the community for free as well. So if it's something that you can just simply text him a question, He will be happy to help. He helps out a lot of people in the community. So definitely make sure you reach out.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, Fly High FPV? Good to see you, brother. Good to see you, man. Thanks for stopping in, Dave. Appreciate you, man. And you want to say hi to Blunty as well.
Yeah, good to see you, man. Good to see you. Thanks everybody.
And we also got Sunrise Water Media as well. Yeah, if anybody has any other last minute questions, get them in real quick. Otherwise, I think we're going to go ahead and bring it to a close. Blunty's got a lot to prepare for tomorrow. I can't confirm that yet, but I am dang sure going to try. Blunty said that he's going to try as well. Nothing confirmed, but we're going to try. We're going to try. See if we can't make that happen.
See how it goes.
Absolutely. Yes. Go ahead. Dab away. Absolutely. Well, Blunty, if you wouldn't mind just hanging out for just a little bit after the live show, I just wanted to chat with you briefly before we call it a night.
Sure. Sounds good.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for all your support in the chat tonight. And really do appreciate you coming on the show, Blunty. Great having you on. And thank you for all you do in our hobby. And we really do appreciate you, man.
Absolutely. Happy to be here. Happy to do it. So
that's awesome. I will chat with you after the stream, my friend.
Sounds good.
All right, brother. Thanks. Guys, make sure you check out ItsBlunty down in the video description. Check out his channel, and make sure you check out the FPV Freedom Coalition as well as the Flight Test channel. Make sure you check out Flight Test, and make sure you stay tuned to the FPV news. There's going to be lots of awesome things coming that you're not going to want to miss out on. We have some hope to look forward to. So thank you guys so much for all the support tonight. Greatly appreciate it. And we will see you guys next time. I got a fresh upload coming tomorrow, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure you check that out. If you're new here, welcome. Great to have you. You would definitely smash that like button and subscribe. Would greatly appreciate that. There's going to be all kinds of exciting material coming on my channel as well. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And until next time, guys, I'm edrone. And have a good night, guys. edrone out.